I'm not going to beat around the bush for this episode, but I'll start by asking you a simple question. Have you ever seen a movie that you knew right from the beginning was going to be terrible? Not that you sought out this fate like some sort of masochist.
People might mistake me for some kind of a masochist.
Oh! But having that genuine gut punch, those first few seconds where everything just goes black and you know damn well what mistake you just made. Well, I just experienced that with 1980's The Apple. So this movie was a request I got from one of my viewers, and I want to firmly say that I will find you. In all seriousness, it was one of the first film requests I got for Bear Bites, so I wanted to give it a shot. I knew nothing about this movie. It came out way before my time, but seeing that it is going for a cult musical kind of vibe, I said why the hell not and put it on while working. Of course, I did it the only appropriate way possible, by streaming it for free on Tubi. And looking back, thank God I did not pay to watch The Apple. So, what are we working with here? Well, I'm actually having a hard time summarizing it for you guys. The Apple is one of those bad films that makes no sense on purpose, if that makes any sense at all. Like, it's obvious that the director of this film, Menahem Golan, was going for a Rocky Horror vibe where nothing makes sense and you're just along for the ride. But the issue with that is that Rocky Horror and successful cult movies in general don't try to be cult movies. You don't try, you just are. While silly and over the top, Rocky Horror has a plot that you can follow, if you wanted to, of course, and I'll get to that when I make a video of Rocky Horror eventually. But the point still stands that the movie was trying to a degree. The Apple, on the other hand, forgoes this and just jumps straight into absurdity without any substance. It's like making a cake, but only wanting to put on frosting and sprinkles without any cake. And by God, does that frosting and sprinkles suck ass. But here's a general idea of what The Apple is about. In the distant year of 1994, yeah, don't question it, the world is run by this evil music company called BIM. At a music competition, this couple named Alfie and Bibi perform their hearts out but are snubbed by the BIM representatives after cheating. The leader of BIM, named Mr. Boogaloo, sees potential in the couple and wants to sign them to keep them close. Something to do with the power of love and rebellion, but I really don't know. Alfie gets these strange visions though and decides not to sign at the last minute. Bibi, on the other hand, signs away and lives the good life for most of the runtime. Throughout the film, Alfie tries to rescue her, and eventually the two do meet back up at a hippie community of all things. They fuck and have a child during the year that they live there, but oh no, here comes the big bad BIM to take Bibi away. But in the biggest piece of ex machina ever, I shit you not, some sky pimp comes down and saves everyone. And that's when you realize this is some biblical parody bullshit, but too late, the movie is already over. If you guys are sane, you're probably wondering why I glossed over so much of the plot, but oh no, dear viewer, that's the movie. That is legit the plot of this movie, and I even cross-referenced it with other places to make sure I didn't miss anything. It took one singular paragraph to summarize everything, but when watching The Apple, it goes on for an eternity.
What's the matter with you?
It's an hour and 30-minute film, so where's all the runtime devoted to? The music, and by God, there is so much music. Too much music. In a musical, which is a terrible sign that you've committed a cardinal sin.
To the BIM!
Cheat, steal, popping pills to keep up the pace.
Where has it gone? Against the wall,
Coming for you to the light.
Child of love.
The music, which is not good, grinds The Apple to a halt every time it comes on, and like a shitty box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes it's a cheesy love ballad, and other times it's pulsating bass that leaves your stomach upset to the point of vomiting. Most of it is disco, which, to clarify, I absolutely love. As a bi man, that genre is baked into my DNA. But this isn't your average disco. Oh no, this is late-stage disco. To put some historical perspective on this, Disco Demolition Night happened the year prior in '79. People were scraping the bottom of the barrel for disco music at this point, derivative upon derivative, a Xerox of a Xerox.
Disco, disco, disco dance machine. Disco, disco, disco dance machine.
The gall to make a disco musical in 1980 is absolutely fascinating and equally as concerning. But why? That's the million-dollar question to all of this. But surprisingly, the movie actually answers this. No joke, there is an entire song in The Apple dedicated to speed, and I'm sure the writers were not trying to hide anything at all. But looking at this entire picture, the biggest and most glaring issue is that of the pacing. When you are making a musical, a good musical at least, you need to make sure your songs flow naturally in and out of the plot of the film. It shouldn't feel like wasted time, there should be value. The Apple does the opposite of this. The whole thing feels like disjointed, terrible music videos strung together vaguely with what seems to resemble a cohesive plot. The film feels like it is chunked together with no flow whatsoever. It's a slog to get through, and I promise you it has nothing to do with me streaming it on Tubi. Hey guys, I want to be fully transparent that this section of the video was written and recorded after everything else. I sent everything over to my editor Minty and got a huge note back that the Apple had a massive troubled production history. Shocker, I know. Minty sent me a transcript of the podcast from Slash Films that went over it, and damn, I was really ignorant going into this video. I'll link the full article in the description, but this section's job is to give you guys the context that I myself was given. My criticisms still stand, but I would be doing a disservice to not mention this history. Movies, especially bad ones, have a story to tell. This one in particular deals with a very bad producer and two artists that got taken for a ride. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Back in the 1970s, Kobe Recht and Iris Yotvat wanted to create a stage musical for the Israeli market, which was not a terrible idea given that he was a famous pop star and she was a semi-successful actress. It was going to be heavily inspired by 1984 and was based on real experiences Kobe had in the music industry. That Bogolo guy from the film, he was directly based on a producer Kobe signed with. And while they admitted themselves it wouldn't have been a groundbreaking musical, it had a lot of heart for them. But along came Menahem Golan, who came to eventually direct and produce The Apple. I mentioned him earlier in the video, and he was dead set on bringing this to the States and the movie screen. Kobe was the one who admittedly brought him into it. After all, they were childhood acquaintances, but it would soon be the catalyst for a long line of terrible mistakes. The trio would fly from LA to London to Berlin and all over to chunk this film together bit by bit. I won't get into the details, but to summarize it all in one word, mismanagement. Menahem was verbally abusive to the people around him on set, which in show business is sadly normalized. However, he was ballooning the cost of the production with frivolous things, even citing dinosaurs at one point. Needless to say, this movie was not even close to the original draft that Kobe and Iris made. Menahem took over this project with full force, and while he was very passionate, he was also insane. He had this grand vision that he would get into Hollywood with The Apple, and that delusion clouded the quality of the film. I mean, the Sky Pimp scene mentally broke Cody, which I don't blame him, cause damn it broke me too. The film later premiered at the Montreal Film Festival in 1980, where Kobe and Iris didn't even show up. It was Menahem, and he got the brunt of a barrage of boos. So much in fact that he was prepared to take his own life after the showing, which thankfully he didn't. It goes without saying that even toxic people don't deserve such a fate, but it was a harsh bit of reality that never really stuck. He continued to defend The Apple while still making films. He was always a movie lover, even if it stepped on other people's dreams. In sum, while this doesn't change my outlook on the film itself, I totally empathize with how it turned out. I feel bad for the original creators, and to a much lesser extent, I feel bad for the villain of the story. Looking at it all, these were artists that were trying to express their dreams in their own ways. The wires got crossed and lost in the sauce. I think everything I say still holds true in this video, but wow. All I can say is that The Apple is a crime of passion. Anyone who's created anything before in their life can relate somewhat to this tragedy. Go read the full story though, and let's wrap up this video. I don't think I've ever struggled with writing a movie review like I've had with The Apple. The movie almost protects itself from criticism because how can you shit on something that had no expectations to begin with? Like at the end of the day, it's my fault that I put on this movie, and it's my fault that I'm going through the effort to make content out of this trash. I could have easily stopped at any point and put something good on, or play a game that's in my backlog. But in an attempt to justify my self-suffering, I wanted to point out some good that can come from all this. Isn't it amazing how a movie like The Apple can even exist in the first place? A fever dream of a film that not many people would even bat an eye to in a dollar store bin exists on planet Earth at this moment with you and me. And there are others like it out there, which I find exciting to a certain extent. Some may be as bad as the apple, but there's that off chance you may stumble on some gold. I think making these videos is a good way to explore that unknown and broaden my movie horizon, and I think you should do the same with me. I know I just spent the last few minutes shitting on the apple, but if you haven't seen the film yet, even after all I said, you should boot up Tubi right now and go watch it. You will probably hate it like I did, but I don't think you're going to be bored at any point. Regardless, I just find it neat that something like this can even exist in the first place.
Yes. You were saying?
TLDR, speed is one hell of a drug.